The Valkyrie command ship grew larger as their stolen transport approached. Tejo's hands sweated as he worked the alien controls, trying to look like a normal supply delivery. Through the ship's communication system, he could hear Valkyrie voices giving landing instructions. "They are telling us to dock at Base 7, he reported to his team. "Perfect," said Boram. "That puts us close to their main computer center." The other fighters checked their equipment one final time. Each carried the electromagnetic frequency generator that Songhai-Rim's people had built. If they could reach the command ship's communication center, they could broadcast the signal throughout the vessel. "Remember," Tejo said as they approached the docking bay, "we only get one chance. Once they realize we are humans, they will try to destroy us before we can complete the mission." The transport ship settled into the docking bay with a soft thud. Through the windows, Tejo could see Valkyrie workers preparing to unload their cargo. None of them suspected anything unusual. "Wait for my signal," Boram whispered. The cargo bay doors opened, and Valkyrie workers entered the ship. Boram counted silently. 3, 4, 5 aliens. When the 6th worker stepped inside, he gave the signal. The fighters activated their electromagnetic weapons. The frequency generators created a high-pitched whine that made the Valkyrie stumble and fall. Within seconds, all 6 workers were unconscious. "Move," Boram ordered. They ran from the transport ship into the command vessel. The corridors were made of the same blue metal as Valkyrie buildings on Earth, but everything was larger and more complex. Strange symbols glowed on the walls and alien voices echoed from hidden speakers. "Which way to the communication center?" asked one of the fighters. Tejo studied the symbols on the walls. Dayan had taught him some of the Valkyrie written language, but these markings were more advanced than anything he had seen before. "This way," he decided, pointing down a corridor that seemed to lead toward the center of the ship. They moved quickly through the passages, avoiding groups of Valkyrie crew members. The frequency generators would only work at close range, so they had to reach the communication center before being discovered. After 10 minutes of searching, they found what they were looking for. A massive chamber filled with crystalline computers and communication equipment. Dozens of Valkyrie operators worked at control stations, managing communications between the orbital fleet and ground forces on Earth. "How do we get inside without being seen?" Boram asked. Tejo pointed to a maintenance tunnel above the chamber. "Through there. We can drop down behind the main console." One by one, they crawled through the narrow tunnel until they were directly above the communication center. Below them, Valkyrie operators continued their work, unaware of the humans hiding above them. "On my count," Boram whispered. 3, 2, 1. They dropped through the ceiling into the chamber. The Valkyrie operators turned in surprise as humans landed among them. Before the aliens could sound an alarm, the fighters activated their frequency generators. The effect was immediate. Every Valkyrie in the chamber collapsed as the electromagnetic pulse disrupted their crystalline nervous systems. They were not dead, but they were completely helpless. "Find the main communication transmitter," Tejo ordered. "We need to broadcast this frequency to the entire ship." Daun had taught him how to identify Valkyrie control systems. He found the main transmitter and began connecting their frequency generator to the ship's communication network. "How long will this take?" Boram asked, watching the entrances to the chamber. 2 minutes, Tejo replied. "Maybe 3, but they did not have 3 minutes. Alarms began sounding throughout the ship as other Valkyrie realized something was wrong. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridors outside the communication center. "They are coming," reported one of the fighters. "Hold them off," Boram ordered. "Tejo needs more time." The fighters took positions around the chamber entrances. When the first Valkyrie guards entered, they were met with plasma weapon fire. The aliens returned fire with their own energy weapons, filling the air with bright beams of deadly light. "Almost finished," Tejo announced, working frantically at the control console. The Valkyrie computer systems were more complex than he had expected, but the basic principles were similar to human technology. More Valkyrie guards poured into the chamber. Boram's team was outnumbered 10 to 1, but they held their positions. One by one, the fighters fell to alien weapons fire. "Tejo," Boram called out. "Whatever you are going to do it now." "Got it," Tejo replied, making the final connection. Frequency generator is connected to the ship's communication system. Broadcasting in 3, 2, 1, he activated the device. The high-pitched whine filled the air, but now it was amplified by the ship's own communication equipment. The electromagnetic frequency spread throughout the entire vessel in seconds. Every Valkyrie on the command ship stopped moving. Guards dropped their weapons. Operators fell from their control stations. The entire alien crew was disabled by the frequency that disrupted their crystalline biology. It worked, Boram said in amazement. It actually worked, but Teho was already moving to the next phase of their mission. He accessed the ship's main computer and began downloading information about Val-3 operations on Earth. What he found was shocking. They are not just invaders, he told Boram as he read the alien data files. They are refugees. Their home planet is dying, and they need Earth's resources to save their people. Does that matter? Boram asked. They still enslaved humanity. It matters because it gives us options, Teho replied. We do not have to destroy them. We can negotiate. The data files contained detailed information about Val-3 society, their dying homeworld, and their desperate need for the crystal resources found on Earth. They had conquered humanity not out of cruelty, but out of desperation. Download everything, Boram decided. The resistance leaders need to see this. As Teho copied the alien data, he accessed the ship's communication system and sent a message to every Val-3 facility on Earth. The message contained the electromagnetic frequency and instructions for how humans could disable alien forces anywhere on the planet within hours. Resistance groups around the world were using the frequency to capture Val-3 installations. Mining camps were liberated. Guard posts were overrun. For the first time in 200 years, humans were winning. But Teho also sent a different kind of message. Using the ship's long-range transmitters, he broadcast a proposal to the Val-3 High Command. We know about your dying homeworld, the message said. We know you need Earth's resources to survive. But enslavement is not the answer. Humans are willing to negotiate a fair trade agreement. We will help you save your people if you give us back our freedom. The response came within an hour. Admiral Korthval, the supreme commander of the Val-3 fleet, appeared on the communication screen. He looked like all Val-3, tall, thin, with blue crystalline skin, but his eyes showed intelligence and something that might have been hope. Human, the admiral said in heavily accented English, you offer what cannot be trusted. Your species fights against us. Because you enslaved us, Teho replied. Free us and we will help you. Continue to enslave us and we will destroy every Val-3 facility on Earth. The admiral was silent for a long moment. You have the power to make this threat real? Yes, Teho confirmed. Every human resistance group now has the frequency that disables your people. We can capture or destroy your forces anywhere on our planet. Then we will discuss terms, Admiral Korthval decided. But the negotiations must be in person. Will you come to our flagship? 3 days later, Teho found himself in a conference room aboard the Val-3 flagship, sitting across from Admiral Korthval and his senior officers. Dayun, Min-Ah, and Song Hye-Rim sat beside him, representing the global human resistance. The negotiations were difficult. The Val-3 needed massive quantities of crystal resources to save their homeworld. Humans wanted complete freedom and reparations for 200 years of slavery. Your people took our world without asking, Min-Ah said during one heated exchange. You killed millions of humans and enslaved the rest. Why should we trust you now? Because we are dying, Admiral Korthval replied. Our homeworld has perhaps 50 years before it becomes uninhabitable. Without Earth's crystals, our entire civilization will cease to exist. Then you should have asked for help instead of taking what you wanted, Dayun observed. We tried to communicate with your governments in 2200, the admiral said, but your leaders refused to negotiate. They said Earth's resources belonged only to humans. So you decided to take them by force, Song Hye-Rim said. We decided to survive, the admiral replied. But perhaps there is a better way. The final agreement took weeks to negotiate. Humans would regain complete control of Earth and receive advanced Val-3 technology as reparations for the conquest. In return, humans would help mine crystals from other planets and share them with the Val-3 homeworld. This is not perfect justice, Min-Ah admitted during the signing ceremony, but it is better than more war. 6 months later, Teho stood on the observation deck of a human space station, watching Val-3 ships leave Earth's orbit. The last alien garrison had departed the previous week. After 200 years, humanity was free. 2 months after the Seoul Power Station attack, the world had changed. Teho stood in their new command center, watching reports come in from resistance groups across the planet. The fusion reactor plans had reached every continent, and humans were fighting back everywhere. Moscow group reports successful attack on mining facility, Dayun announced, reading messages from her communication equipment. 300 slaves freed. Sydney team has disabled Valkyrie communication tower, added Wusiok, who had become their main messenger coordinator. Local alien forces are operating blind. And New York? Minna asked. Daun's face became serious. New York is gone. The Valkyrie used orbital weapons to destroy the entire resistance cell. 2,000 people dead. The command center fell quiet. Every victory came with terrible losses. The aliens were fighting back with increasing brutality. They are getting scared, Sujin observed. That is why they are killing so many people. They know they are losing control. A new message appeared on Dayun's screen. It was encrypted with codes that only major resistance leaders knew. This is from SciFiPrime, Dayun said, the leader of the North American resistance. The message was short. Need to meet. Have information about Valkyrie weakness. Can you come to us? Minna studied the message. It could be a trap, or it could be the key to winning this war, Taeho replied. SciFiPrime has been fighting longer than any of us. If she says she has found a weakness, I will go, Wusiok volunteered. I know the routes between continents. I can reach North America in 2 weeks. Too dangerous for one person, Minna decided. Take a team. While Wusiok prepared for his journey, Taeho worked on a new project. The fusion reactors had given the resistance power, but they needed better weapons. The energy weapons they had captured from the Valkyrie were powerful but limited. Humans needed weapons they could build and repair themselves. What if we could use fusion energy directly as a weapon? He asked Dayun one evening. You mean like the Valkyrie energy guns? No, something different. Something they would not expect. Taeho showed her his calculations. A focused beam of superheated plasma. It would cut through their armor like paper. Dayun studied the numbers. The power requirements are enormous. You would need a fusion reactor just to fire it once. Then we build portable reactors, Taeho said. Small ones that teams can carry. They worked for weeks on the design. The weapon was larger than a normal gun but small enough for one person to use. Each shot drained the fusion cell completely, but each shot could destroy a Valkyrie, vehicle, or cut through the walls of their buildings. The first test happened in an abandoned factory outside Seoul. Taeho aimed the weapon at a piece of alien armor they had salvaged from previous battles. He pulled the trigger. A brilliant beam of white energy shot from the weapon and turned the armor into glowing metal soup. The blast was so bright that everyone had to shield their eyes. It works, Dawn said in amazement. It actually works. News of the plasma weapon spread quickly to other resistance groups. Within weeks, human fighters around the world were using similar devices in their attacks against Valkyrie facilities. But the aliens were adapting too. Reports came in of new types of guards. Larger, stronger Valkyrie with improved armor and weapons. The aliens were also changing their tactics, moving their important facilities to orbital stations where humans could not reach them. They are retreating to space, Minna observed during a strategy meeting. Soon, all their commanders will be in orbit controlling Earth from ships we cannot attack. Maybe we can attack them, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Wusiok entering the command center. He looked tired from his long journey, but his eyes were bright with excitement. You made it back, Sujin said. What did SciFiPrime tell you? She has found a weakness in the Valkyrie, Wusiok announced. And she has a plan to attack their orbital stations. He placed a small device on the table. It projected images of Valkyrie physiology, detailed scans of their crystalline internal structure. The Valkyrie are not just aliens, he explained. They are living crystals. Their bodies are made of the same materials as their technology. We knew that already, Dawn said. But SciFiPrime discovered something new. There is a specific electromagnetic frequency that disrupts their crystal structure. It does not kill them, but it makes them weak and confused. Taeho studied the data. What frequency? Exactly 847.3 megahertz, Wusiok replied. SciFiPrime's group tested it on captured Valkyrie guards. At that frequency, they become helpless. How do we broadcast that frequency to orbital stations? Minna asked. We do not broadcast it, Wusiok said. We take it to them. SciFiPrime has a plan to capture a Valkyrie transport ship and use it to reach their command vessel. The plan was ambitious and dangerous, A team would need to capture one of the transport ships that carried supplies between Earth and the orbital stations. Then they would have to fly it to the main Val-3 command ship and get close enough to broadcast the disruptive frequency. Who would pilot the ship? Soo-jin asked. Song Hye-rim has someone, Woo-seok replied, a former pilot named Kang Dong-min. Before the conquest, he flew spacecraft for the Korean Space Agency. Tae-ho felt a chill of recognition. Kang Dong-min? I knew him. We worked together on satellite projects in 2024. He is still alive, Woo-seok confirmed. He has been hiding in the mountains of North Korea for decades, but Song Hye-rim found him. He says he can fly any ship, even an alien one. The attack plan took months to organize. Resistance groups around the world would coordinate simultaneous assaults on Val-3 facilities. While the aliens were distracted defending their ground installations, a small team would capture a transport ship and head for the orbital command vessel. Tae-ho volunteered to be part of the space team. His knowledge of Val-3 technology would be essential for the mission. Are you sure? Minna asked. This is probably a one-way trip. I am sure, Tae-ho replied. I have seen what the Val-3 do to our people. If there is a chance to stop them, I have to take it. The transport ship they targeted landed at a supply depot outside Seoul every Tuesday. It carried food and equipment to the orbital stations and returned with refined crystals from the space mines. On the day of the attack, Tae-ho crouched in the ruins near the landing pad with 5 other fighters. Each carried a plasma weapon and electromagnetic pulse devices designed to disable alien technology. The transport ship was larger than he had expected, a sleek silver vessel with no visible engines or weapons. It landed silently and extended a ramp for the loading crews. Remember, said the team leader, a former soldier named Lee Bo-ram, we need the ship intact. No plasma weapons unless absolutely necessary. They waited until the Val-3 crew had left the ship to supervise the loading. Then they struck. The electromagnetic pulse devices shut down the alien security systems. The fighters overwhelmed the guards with stunning weapons instead of killing them. Within 10 minutes, they controlled the transport ship. Can you fly this thing? Bo-ram asked Tae-ho as they reached the pilot compartment. Tae-ho studied the alien controls. They were similar to the devices Da-eun had reverse-engineered, but much more complex. I think so, he said, but it will take time to figure out the navigation system. We do not have time, Bo-ram replied. Val-3 reinforcements will be here soon. Tae-ho placed his hands on the control interface. The ship's systems were designed for Val-3 physiology, but human hands could operate them. Slowly, the transport began to rise from the landing pad. It is working, he announced. We are airborne. Through the ship's windows, he could see Seoul shrinking below them. Higher and higher they climbed, until the curve of Earth became visible against the black of space. Ahead of them, the Val-3 command ship waited like a silver mountain floating among the stars. It was larger than any human-built structure, bristling with weapons and communication arrays. There it is, Bo-ram said. Our target. And probably our tomb, added another fighter. Tae-ho guided the transport ship toward the command vessel. Soon they would be close enough to broadcast the electromagnetic frequency that would disable every Val-3 on the ship. Soon, the fate of Earth would be decided. 3 weeks later, Tae-ho stood in front of his completed fusion reactor. The device was no bigger than a washing machine, built from salvaged materials and alien components that Da-eun had learned to modify. It looked rough and improvised, but the readings on Da-eun's instruments were perfect. Are you ready? Tae-ho asked. Da-eun nodded and pressed the activation switch. The reactor hummed quietly, and lights began glowing throughout their new underground home. For the first time in 200 years, humans had created their own power source. People gathered around the reactor in amazement. They had lived with dim lights and barely working equipment for so long that clean, bright energy seemed like magic. How much power does it produce? Minna asked. Enough for our entire community, Tae-ho replied. And enough to power equipment the Val-3 have never seen before. What kind of equipment? Asked a voice from the entrance to their cave. Everyone turned to see a stranger walking toward them. He was young and thin, with dirt on his clothes from long travel. Minna's fighters raised their weapons, but the man held up empty hands. Peace, he said. I am Jang Woo-seok. I bring messages from other resistance groups. Other groups? Minna asked. How did you find us? Your energy signal, Woo-seok replied, pointing at the fusion reactor. We detected it from 50 kilometers away, Every resistance cell in Korea knows something new is happening here. Dayun looked worried. If we detected it, the Valkyrie might detect it too. That is why I came quickly, Woo-Sok said. To warn you and to ask for your help. Mina lowered her weapon. What help? Woo-Sok pulled out a small device that projected a map of East Asia. Red dots marked locations across Korea, Japan, and China. These are human resistance groups, he explained. We have been scattered and weak for 200 years. But 3 days ago, groups around the world received the same message. And what message? Taeho asked. That someone has created new technology, that humans are fighting back with weapons the aliens cannot stop, that the time for revolution has come. The cave fell silent as people realized what this meant. The fusion reactor, Sujin said. News of it is spreading. Yes, Woo-Sok confirmed. And every group wants to know how to build one. Can you teach them? Taeho looked at Da-un. She had been working on creating instruction manuals for the reactor, but the work was complex. We can try, Da-un said, but each group would need specific materials and technical knowledge. Then we start with the groups that have engineers, Mina decided. We spread the technology slowly and carefully. Over the next few days, Woo-Sok helped Da-un improve her communication equipment using components from other resistance cells. Soon they were receiving messages from human groups across the planet. The first message came from North America. We have engineers ready. Send reactor plans. The second came from Europe. Val-3 increasing patrols. Need weapons technology. The third came from Australia. Mining slaves uprising. Need immediate support. The whole world is waking up, Mina said as they read the messages. Humanity is starting to fight back. But fighting back meant the Val-3 would fight back too. A week after they established communications with other groups, Jin Woo returned from a scouting mission with bad news. Alien ships are landing in the city, he reported. Hundreds of them. The regular guards are being replaced with military troops. They know something is happening, Sujin said. They are preparing for war. Good, Mina replied. So are we. She called together the leaders of their group. Taeho, Da-un, Sujin, and the new team leaders who had replaced Ki-hyun's lost fighters. We need to strike before they find us, Mina said. A coordinated attack that shows other humans what is possible. What kind of attack? Asked one of the fighters. The power station, Da-un suggested. The main Val-3 power facility that runs their entire Seoul operation. If we could disable it, their communications would go down, Taeho realized. Their transportation systems would stop working. Their weapons would run out of power. And every human in the city would see that the aliens are not invincible, Mina added. Planning the attack took 2 weeks. Da-un used her knowledge of alien technology to map the power station's defenses. Taeho designed small explosive devices powered by fusion cells. The new fighters learned Val-3 patrol patterns and identified weak points in their security. Meanwhile, they shared their plans with resistance groups around the world. Similar attacks would happen simultaneously in major cities on every continent. If everything worked, the Val-3 would face the largest human uprising since the conquest. The night before the attack, Taeho could not sleep. He walked through their underground community, seeing families preparing for what might be their last night together. Children too young to fight were being hidden in the deepest tunnels. Adults checked weapons and equipment one final time. Are you afraid? Sujin asked, joining him near the fusion reactor. Yes, Taeho admitted. In 2024, I was just a scientist. I worked in a laboratory and thought about equations. Now I am planning a war. You are doing what you must do, she replied. Every human who fights tomorrow is doing what they must do. We cannot live as slaves forever. What if we fail? What if the Val-3 kill everyone? Sujin was quiet for a moment. Then we will have died as free humans instead of living as slaves. That means something. The attack began at midnight. Teams of fighters moved through the old subway tunnels toward their targets. Taeho and Da-un went with the main group attacking the power station. They emerged from underground 3 blocks from the Val-3 facility. The building was tall and smooth, made of the same blue metal as their weapons. Energy fields surrounded it and guards patrolled in flying vehicles. Remember, Mina whispered to her team, we only have 30 minutes before reinforcements arrive. Get in, plant the charges, and get out. Daeun used a device she had built to disrupt the energy fields around the building. For exactly 60 seconds, there would be a gap in their defenses. Now, Mina said. The fighters ran toward the building. Taeho carried the fusion-powered explosives, each one small enough to fit in his pocket, but powerful enough to destroy alien equipment. They reached the main power core just as alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Feltry guards were coming from every direction. Plant the charges, Mina ordered. Dayun, how long do we have? 2 minutes until the explosives activate, Dayun replied, working at a control panel. But I can do something else. I can send a message through their power grid to every Velthry facility on Earth. What kind of message? Taeho asked. The plans for your fusion reactor. Every resistance group on the planet will receive them at the same time. Energy weapons fired around them as Velthry guards tried to stop the attack. Mina's fighters returned fire with weapons powered by Taeho's fusion technology. Do it, Mina decided. Send the message. Daun's fingers flew across the alien controls. For 30 seconds, every Velthry communication system on Earth carried the same signal. Detailed instructions for building human fusion reactors. Message sent, she announced. And charges activated in 10 seconds. They ran from the building as explosions lit up the night sky behind them. The main Velthry power station went dark, and with it, half of Seoul lost power. But more importantly, resistance groups around the world now had the knowledge they needed to build their own energy sources. As they escaped through the tunnels, Taeho realized that everything had changed. The scattered, weak groups of human survivors were becoming something new. They were becoming an army. The real war for Earth was just beginning. The next morning, Jinwoo woke Taeho before dawn. The underground city was already busy with people preparing for another day of hidden survival. Mina wants you to meet someone important, Jinwoo said. But first, you need to see what the Velthry do to our people. They climbed back through the tunnels to the surface. Jinwoo led Taeho through the ruins of Old Seoul, staying hidden behind broken buildings and piles of rubble. The morning air smelled of metal and smoke. Stay quiet and stay low, Jinwoo whispered. They reached a high wall made of strange blue metal. Through gaps in the wall, Taeho could see hundreds of humans working in a deep pit. They carried heavy bags of glowing rocks from the bottom of the pit to trucks at the top. Velthry guards watched them from tall platforms. What are they mining? Taeho asked. Vorthak crystals, Jinwoo replied. The Velthry need them for their technology. The crystals are poisonous to humans, but the aliens do not care. Most workers die within 5 years. Taeho watched as an old man collapsed while carrying his bag. 2 guards came down and dragged him away. The other workers kept moving, afraid to look. This happens every day, Jinwoo said. In every city on Earth. They left the mining site and returned to the underground city. Taeho felt sick from what he had seen. The Velthry were not just conquerors. They were slowly killing the human race. In the main cave, Mina waited with a young woman Taeho had not met before. She had intelligent eyes and hands stained with oil and metal dust. This is Lee Da-eun, Mina said. She is our engineer. She has been saving human knowledge for years. Da-eun bowed politely. I have heard about you, Dr. Kim. I have something to show you. She led them to a smaller cave filled with computers and electronic equipment. Most of it looked very old, but everything was carefully organized. When the Velthry conquered Earth, they destroyed all our technology, Da-eun explained. But some of us have been collecting pieces for decades. I have been putting together information about the old world. She turned on one of the computers. The screen showed technical drawings and scientific equations. I have data about fusion reactors from before the conquest, she said. But I never understood how to make them work. With your knowledge from 2024, Taeho studied the screen. The information was incomplete, but it was enough to work with. Yes, he said. This could work, but we need materials, rare metals and specific components. That is where I come in, said a new voice. They turned to see a tall man with scars on his face and arms. He carried himself like a soldier. This is Yoon Ki-hyun, Mina said. He leads our raids against Velthry supply convoys. Ki-hyun shook Taeho's hand firmly. I can get you whatever materials you need. The aliens ship supplies between their cities every week. We have learned their routes. It is dangerous work, Mina added. We lose people on every raid. But we have no choice, Ki-hyun said. If we want to fight back, we need weapons and technology they cannot take away from us. Over the next few weeks, Taeho worked with Da-eun to design a fusion reactor using the materials they could obtain. The work was slow and difficult. They had to use salvaged parts and create new solutions for problems that did not exist in 2024. Ki-hyun and his team conducted 3 raids on Vel 3 convoys. They brought back rare metals, computer components, and strange alien devices that Da-eun learned to reverse engineer. "Look at this," Da-eun said one evening, showing Tae-ho a small alien device. "It is their communication equipment. If I can understand how it works, we might be able to contact other human groups." "Are there other groups?" Tae-ho asked. "We think so," Sujin said, joining their conversation. "Before the conquest, resistance cells were organized all over the world, but we lost contact 200 years ago. If we could reach them," Mina said, "we could coordinate attacks. We could share technology. We could fight as one human army instead of small scattered groups." Tae-ho worked day and night on the fusion reactor. The design was much smaller than what he had planned in 2024, but it would provide clean energy for their entire underground city. More importantly, it would prove that humans could still create technology the Vel 3 could not control. After a month of work, the reactor was nearly ready for testing. Da-eun had also made progress with the alien communication device. She could receive signals, but sending messages was still impossible. "We are close," she told Tae-ho. "Maybe a few more days." But they did not have a few more days. That night, alarms sounded throughout the underground city. People grabbed emergency bags and started moving toward the escape tunnels. "Vel 3 patrol," Ki-hyun reported to Mina, a large one. "They are searching the ruins above us. How did they find us?" Mina asked. "One of our raids must have been traced," Sujin said, "or someone talked." Through the cave entrance, they could hear the sound of alien voices and heavy footsteps. Bright lights swept across the entrance to their tunnels. "We have to evacuate," Mina decided. "Everyone to the emergency shelter." "What about the fusion reactor?" Tae-ho asked. "We take what we can carry," Da-eun said, already packing computer drives and small components. "The rest we leave behind." 200 people cannot move quickly through the tunnels, Ki-hyun warned. "The aliens will catch some of us." "Then we fight," Mina said. "Some of us stay behind to buy time for the others." "I will stay," Tae-ho said. "No," Mina replied firmly. "You are too important. Humanity needs your knowledge." "Then I will stay," Ki-hyun said. "My team can hold them off long enough." The evacuation began. Families moved quietly through the escape tunnels while Ki-hyun's fighters prepared to defend the main entrance. Tae-ho helped Da-eun carry their most important equipment. As they moved through the dark tunnels, Tae-ho could hear energy weapons firing behind them. The Vel 3 had found their city, Ki-hyun and his team, Tae-ho said. "They know the risks," Mina replied. "This is what we do. We sacrifice for each other so humanity can survive." They walked through the tunnels for hours before reaching a new hiding place, an old subway station deep underground. It was smaller than their previous home, but it was hidden and safe. "How many people did we lose?" Sujin asked as they settled into the new location. 37, Mina said quietly. "Including Ki-hyun." The cave fell silent. 37 people had died so the others could escape. 37 people who would never see Earth free again. "They died for something important," Da-eun said, setting up her equipment in a corner of the station. "Dr. Kim's fusion reactor will give us power the Vel 3 cannot take away. Ki-hyun's raids gave us the materials we needed. Their sacrifice means something." Tae-ho looked around at the faces of the survivors. They were sad, but they were not defeated. Even after losing their homes and their friends, they were ready to keep fighting. "How long before we can try again?" he asked Mina. "A few weeks," she replied. "We need time to settle in and make sure this place is safe. But we will try again. We will keep trying until we win or until there are no humans left to try." "Then let's make sure we win," Tae-ho said. "Let's build something the Vel 3 will never expect." The cold metal beneath Kim Tae-ho felt wrong. His eyes opened slowly and bright white lights burned into his vision. His body ached like he had been sleeping for years. The last thing he remembered was lying down in the cryogenic chamber in his Seoul laboratory in 2024. The experiment was supposed to last 6 months. Tae-ho tried to sit up, but his muscles felt weak. The room around him looked nothing like his lab. Broken concrete and twisted metal filled the space. Sunlight streamed through huge cracks in the ceiling. His cryogenic pod was the only thing that looked undamaged. "You are awake," said a voice behind him. Tae-ho turned his head and saw a young man with dirty clothes and a thin face. The stranger held a metal bar like a weapon, but his eyes showed curiosity, not anger. "Who are you?" Taeho asked. His voice sounded strange after so long without speaking. I am Park Jinwoo. I found your sleeping box 3 days ago. I thought you were dead. Jinwoo stepped closer. What year do you think this is? 2024, maybe 2025 if the experiment worked. Taeho tried to stand but fell back down. How long was I asleep? Jinwoo's face became serious. This is the year 2400. You have been sleeping for almost 400 years. The words hit Taeho like a physical blow. 400 years? That was impossible. The experiment was only meant to last months, not centuries. That cannot be true, Taeho said. Look around you, Jinwoo replied. Does this look like the world you remember? Taeho looked at the ruined building again. Through the cracks in the walls he could see strange silver towers in the distance. Flying vehicles moved between them, but they did not look like any human technology he knew. What happened to Seoul? What happened to Korea? Taeho asked. Jinwoo sat down on a piece of broken concrete. The aliens came 200 years ago. They call themselves the Valkyrie. They conquered Earth in less than a year. Now humans are slaves? Slaves? Taeho felt sick. What do you mean? We work in their mines. We build their cities. We give them everything they want. If we disobey, they kill us. Jinwoo's voice was flat, like he had said these words many times. Speaking Korean in public means death. Speaking any human language means death. Taeho stared at the young man. This had to be a nightmare. He would wake up soon in his real laboratory. You do not believe me, Jinwoo said. Come, I will show you. Jinwoo helped Taeho stand. Together, they walked to a hole in the wall that used to be a window. Below them, the city of Seoul stretched out, but it looked nothing like the city Taeho remembered. Tall silver buildings rose from the ground like crystal trees. Human workers in gray uniforms moved in long lines between the structures. Strange beings walked among them. These aliens were tall and thin, with skin that looked like blue glass. They carried weapons that glowed with bright energy. The Valkyrie, Jinwoo whispered. They watch us always. As they watched, one of the human workers stumbled and fell. A Valkyrie guard pointed its weapon at the fallen human. A beam of light shot out and the human disappeared in a flash of fire. No, Taeho said, grabbing the wall. This is not real. It is very real, said a new voice. They turned to see a woman climbing through the rubble toward them. She was older than Jinwoo. With short gray hair and hard eyes, she moved like a soldier. This is Choi Mina, Jinwoo said. She leads our group. Mina studied Taeho carefully. Jinwoo told me about you. A man from the past sleeping in a machine. I did not believe him until I saw your pod. Our group? Taeho asked. The resistance, Mina said. We fight back against the Valkyrie. Not many of us are left, but we do not give up. She led them through the ruined building to a hidden door in the floor. Below was a tunnel that led deep underground. They walked for many minutes through dark passages until they reached a large cave lit by electric lights. Taeho was amazed. Dozens of people lived in the cave. They had built homes from salvaged materials. Children played in small groups while adults worked on various tasks. It looked like a secret city. How many people live here? Taeho asked. About 200, Mina replied. There are other groups like ours around the world, but we cannot contact them. The Valkyrie control all communication. An elderly woman approached them. She had kind eyes but looked very tired. This is Nam Soo-jin, Mina said. She was a doctor before the conquest. Now she keeps us healthy and helps us plan. Soo-jin examined Taeho's eyes and checked his pulse. You are weak from the long sleep, but you will recover. What did you do before you slept? I was a physicist, Taeho said. I worked on fusion energy research. The 3 resistance members looked at each other with sudden excitement. Fusion energy? Mina asked. You mean making power from the same process that powers the sun? Yes, Taeho said. I was close to creating a small reactor when I entered the cryogenic chamber. Why do you ask? Jinwoo grabbed Taeho's arm. The Valkyrie destroyed all human technology when they conquered us. We have no power sources except what we steal from them. If you could build a fusion reactor, we could have independent power, Soo-jin finished. We could build better weapons, better communications, better everything. Mina studied Taeho's face. Would you help us? Would you help us fight for human freedom? Taeho looked around the cave. He saw families trying to live normal lives in hiding. He saw children who had never known a free world. He thought about the human worker who had been killed just for stumbling. Yes, he said. I will help you. I will help you get our world back. Good, Mina said. But first you need to understand what we are fighting against. Tomorrow Jinwoo will show you more of what the Valkyrie have done to our people. Then we will begin planning. That night, Taeho lay on a simple bed in the underground city. He could hear the sounds of families talking quietly, children laughing, and people living their lives despite everything that had happened. He had gone to sleep in 2024, hoping to help humanity's future with clean energy. He had woken up to find that humanity barely had a future at all. But looking around at these brave people who refused to give up, he felt something he had not expected. Hope. The Valkyrie might have conquered Earth, but they had not conquered the human spirit. And now with his knowledge from the past, maybe there was a chance to change everything. Taeho closed his eyes and began to remember everything he knew about fusion reactions. Tomorrow the real work would begin.